It's time for the Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg review for the Gamecube. I remember being really excited about this game before it came out when I was young because it was being made by one of my favorite developers, Sonic Team. I went out and rented it, and I was pleased, to say the least. That was about 7 to 9 years ago, and now I recently started playing it again. Is it the same amount of fun a second time around? Well, let's find out. The story is about how evil crows, have taken over the land and filled it with darkness by capturing the elder chickens who watch over the land. Billy is chosen by the chicken god to help recover the land by the evil crows. To do this, Billy is given a magical chicken suit, which enables him to roll giant eggs around and hatch them. This game is a 3D platformer. Scattered throughout each stage are giant eggs you can use to roll around as weapons to defeat the crows, which, for some reason, like to turn into giant cat bat things. You can roll over them, shoot your eggs at them, or bounce on them, which isn't really the best way to defeat them, since your egg can get damaged easily, and hitting them like this can be a tricky thing to do. And, well, I don't really understand it, but the eggs must have an outside rubber coating, because, well, you can bounce on them, and they don't crack open. Hand me an egg, please. Thank you. Okay, now, let's see if it bounces. I think I'll just stick to juggling. What was that for?
I'm sorry.
No, you're not! Ew!
Humiliation.
Defeating enemies is very simple though. The small enemies take one hit, and the giant enemies take a few more. The larger your egg, the more damage giant enemies take. As you roll around each stage, you will find various fruits scattered throughout, which, when rolled over by your egg, will make your egg grow larger and larger until it is ready to hatch. You'll know it's ready because the egg will start to glow. To hatch an egg, press the R button while looking right at it, and Billy will crow at it. What hatches out of an egg depends on the color and designs of the egg. You can hatch personal upgrades for Billy, as well as animals which can be necessary to your success in certain levels, because each animal companion can usually perform an elemental attack, such as fire, water, ice, you get the idea. Each level has numerous puzzles, all which require a giant egg to complete. Sometimes you'll also need a certain hatched animal to complete puzzles as well, such as putting out flames or freezing lava flows. Each level has 5 different stages, however only the first 2 are required to go on to the next level. The first stage is finding and hatching an elder chicken to make the daylight come out, whereas the second level is finding your way through the stage to a teleporter which takes you to the boss of the level. The last 3 stages will have you scurrying the levels for coins, killing a specific amount of enemies, or making your way to a targeted area of the level. The graphics are good for when it came out. Everything is colorful and vibrant, just the way I expected from Sonic Team. The controls are good for the most part. However, it can be tricky trying to move to exact locations while rolling an egg around, usually when the eggs get huge. A huge frustration of the game is sometimes Billy will suddenly walk away from an egg. This happens if you quickly move the control stick in the opposite direction. I think it would have been better if he immediately moved in the direction with the egg that you wanted him to go, instead of having to make a slight 180, which doesn't sound frustrating, but it is when it happens every time you want to quickly make a U-turn. Another frustration is trying to get your egg to roll on rails by itself throughout the levels. You have to push it on top, but not too fast or else it may meet its doom at the end of the track. Pushing it slowly onto the track can be a frustrating challenge. Sometimes you'll be in an area where Billy has to roll down a slope with his egg while maneuvering his way between obstacles that can completely break the egg open in one hit. It's sometimes okay if the egg breaks because you can just get a new one at the bottom of the hill, right? Well, in some cases, no. Like on this part, if the egg breaks on this hill, you will lose a life because there is a huge gap in which you need an egg to jump over to the other side with. What makes it frustrating is that it can be difficult in seeing where to move around so you don't get hit, and the controls for when you roll down a hill can be stiff, and so it can be unnecessarily difficult trying to get through these parts of the game. The boss fights are, well, okay, I guess. They're pretty similar in what you have to do to defeat them. There's not much variety and strategy for the boss fights. I'd say they'd be fun for little kids, but for advanced players, you probably won't get a thrill from them. There is a 4-player versus mode, where it's basically a free-for-all, battling friends using eggs and creatures you hatch from them. It's pretty fun, but nothing amazing. Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg can be a fun game, with its very good graphics and controls, a lot of replayability, and unique 3D platforming style. However, it's not a game that you'll just be begging for more. It is fun, but the handful of frustrations within it just decreases the overall enjoyment. I do remember having more fun with it as a kid, and I'm sure that's who this game's main target audience is. It's still not a bad game though, and I think you'd enjoy it enough to play through it, especially if you're a young gamer. This game gets a 3.25 out of 5 with the title of good.